Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Today is August 18th, and it is Monday. Today was my first day of college classes. They were very interesting. My American political systems teacher decided to pull up in costume, which was fun. But outside of that, it's been a pretty solid day for me. In the news world, it's been kind of interesting. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Also, if you're new here, subscribe because that would be cool. Moving into the Trump administration segment, as we do, we have a lot to talk about today. Trump has been busy. First topic we have is the State Department will no longer issue visas for children seeking medical care. The U.S. State Department will no longer issue visas to Gaza children in desperate need of medical care after an online campaign from Laura Loomer, a self described proud Islamophobe. The statement from the State Department reads: all visitor visas for individuals from Gaza are being stopped while we conduct a full and thorough review of the process and procedures used to issue small numbers of temporary medical humanitarian visas in recent days. Fuck Laura Loomer, genuinely. I mean, what kind of evil bitch do you have to be to push for starving and dying children not to get care or not to get the help that they need? These children are dying for so many reasons, and because of her racism, essentially, they are going to continue to die, which is fucked up on so many levels. Genuinely, I don't understand how people like this continuously have a platform. It makes you miss canceling, it really does. In other news, Trump has signed an executive order to target voting machines. In a new post on Truth Social, Trump has announced that he will target the U.S. voting system. In his post, he wrote, I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail in ballots, and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate and very expensive, seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than the accurate, sophisticated watermark paper, which is much faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and to who lost the election. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before, by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government and counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do. Quick little injection here. That's illegal and against the Constitution. You should know that, but with their horrible radical left policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender, and woke for everyone, and so much more, Democrats are virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballot/voting, and everybody, in particular the Democrats, know this. I and the Republican Party will fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to our elections. The mail-in ballot hoax in using voting machines that are complete and total disasters must end now. Remember, without fair and honest elections and strong and powerful borders, you do not even have a semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, all the other extra bullshit. Um, this is an attack on Americans' rights to vote, especially Americans in the military, especially college students like me, especially so many people. I mean, this is going to make it harder for everyone within the United States to vote. Many people use mail in ballots in order to cast a vote, especially the military, for one, or disabled people, or people who are working and are unable to get to the ballots because they're working. I mean, like, they couldn't vote if they have this. It is an essential thing. He also wants to tamper with voting machines, and let's not forget that the state controls those, not the president. He is making an attempt at controlling a voting system, which is another sign of their dictatorship. Putin does it as well. If you're not awake now, you better be, because this impacts you. This impacts your right to vote. This impacts your voice and who you say gets into office. Like, genuinely, I don't care what side you're on. This should be crazy to you. It really should be. And the fact that he said that the states have to listen to the federal government is also insane. The states have the right to decide how their voting system works. That is one of the things the state is able to do. And the fact that the president of the United States is going out there and saying that the states have to listen to what he says is absolutely insane and absolutely against all of the things that this country is built on. Like, it's complete and utter bullshit, if I could speak. In other news, speaking about the elections and stuff, Trump joked about not having a 2028 election if we're at war. During his meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine, Trump talked about the fact that Ukraine still hasn't had an election. Trump joked about not holding an election in the United States as well if we were at war. He said, "So you're saying during a war you can't have elections? So let me just say, 3.5 years from now, so you mean if we're at war with somebody, no more elections?" Excuse me. Holy. Sorry. Jeez. Okay. This is this is a distraction, plain and simple. Trump knows this is going to upset people, which is likely the reason why he said this. If I could breathe, holy. He wants to distract you from everything, whether it's the files, whether it's the administration itself. It's all a distraction. It really is. His goal is to make you not pay attention to the actual important stuff. His goal is to make you, pay attention to what he wants you to pay attention to. And it's things like this where he says, just random bullshit like this where it's like it's just a distraction. It really is. It is trying to distract you from the important things that are happening around you. So don't let it catch you up. In other news, Trump was on a hot mic saying he wants Putin to make a deal. I forgot to write a response. Oops. Um, Trump was caught on a hot mic saying he wants Putin to make a deal with deal on Ukraine while speaking with French President Emmanuel Macron. He said, "I think he wants to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal for me. Do you understand?" As crazy as it sounds. This is interesting. Uh, I'm sure Putin does want to make a deal. I'm sure he does. I'm sure that deal doesn't favor Ukraine. Like, that's the whole deal. Like, yeah, sure, Putin totally does want to make a deal. He wants to take land from Ukraine, which he doesn't deserve. I mean, in the Ukrainian constitution, it says that that is their land, for one, like, duh. Um, but also for two, like, Russia really has not done jack shit this entire war. Like, if this was like a successful war, it would have been done years ago. Yet we're still seeing it go on today. Like, there is a reason why this war is continuously happening, because Russia has failed to win it. Like, they are at a standstill. Russia is struggling against a weaker nation. Like, there's no reason why Russia should, have to have any territory from this war, or there's no reason why Russia should have to have any United States resources from this war. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, and we talked about the other day. But like, it's all bullshit. Speaking about the same thing, Trump interrupted a meeting with Ukraine and other European leaders to call Putin himself. Trump interrupted the meeting with Zelensky and other European leaders to call Putin, according to Reuters. It is unclear why this was the case, but talks will or did resume afterwards. Sorry. Trump has claimed that he wants a trilateral deal with the United States, Russia, and Ukraine, all three for some reason, adding Putin really would like to do something. A trilateral deal is insane because this isn't our war in the first place. We didn't fight on it or fight in it. Look, I understand mediating is one thing, but I mean, Trump is treating this entire situation like the United States has had boots on the ground, like at day one, and we haven't had boots on the ground at all. It's the same. Like, the other day, he said he was thinking about giving Russia Alaskan resources to stop the war. Like, for one, that's not his to give out. That's like the people of Alaska's to keep. But also, like, it's not our war. Like, what are you doing? He claims he is the best negotiator of all time, yet he's out here getting mollywopped by Putin. Genuinely, he is getting smacked around. He is getting bitch slapped by Putin. And I know that's not surprising, but like, how are you going to go on a stage and claim you are the best negotiator of all time, but you have to offer resources from your own country just to mediate a war ending that you weren't even a part of? Like, that is so stupid. So, so, so stupid. And I don't understand it. Genuinely, like, what? How are you such a good negotiator, but you are struggling to make a negotiation that you aren't even a part of, that you don't even need to be a part of? Like, Trump does not have to negotiate this war. Like, I feel like a lot of us fail to realize, like, Trump doesn't need to be doing this. Like, this isn't Trump's thing to do. He is offering to do so, yet he is failing so miserably that the United States is, or he, representing the United States, is offering to give shit up. Like, that is so bullshit. So bullshit, and proof that he is a terrible businessman. Living proof right there. Moving on to our Washington, D.C. segment, we have one topic today. As Vermont rejected Trump's request to deploy the National Guard to the state, Vermont's Republican Governor Phil Scott has turned down a second request from the Trump administration to use Vermont's National Guard to carry out White House domestic policy. The Department of Defense asked last week for a few dozen troops to deploy in D.C., but the governor said no because he didn't think the request was appropriate for the Guard's resources. It's great to see this happen. Vermont's an interesting state. For one, Bernie Sanders is, dope, but it also tends to be a blue state, which has a Republican governor, which is really interesting. It's interesting that there's also like not a word for that. I feel like that's one of the perfect things to have a word for is, a blue state that has a red governor. But, maybe that's just me. There should be a word for that. Somebody should make one. But like, I think it's cool. I do. It shows that actual elections don't matter, or parties don't matter, if you will. Sorry, but it's the policy that does. And people should focus on that more rather than just voting for the policy. I know we see a lot less of that on, more liberal sides, but people generally should, rather than voting for their own party, read into candidates, learn about their policies, and learn what best fits you. A lot of people now don't read; they just vote, and it's why we have so many struggles here. It really is. Moving on into our other news segments, the final segment, as always, European leaders joined Zelensky in D.C. European and NATO leaders have announced that they will be joining Zelensky in Washington, D.C. for talks to end the war in Ukraine. This was unexpected by Trump, but European officials will travel with Zelensky with the goal to ensure the meeting goes better than the one in February. It's unclear what leaders. It was unclear. I don't think this has changed. I probably should have updated this from yesterday. Sorry. The leaders that did go were, or for sure that I know, were Emmanuel Macron, the French president, Friedrich Merz, the German chancellor, and Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission. This is great news for both Zelensky and the war. I hope we can see more European leaders kind of take a stand and join, because let's not forget, this war is in Europe. I mean, I personally think if anyone should be mediating the war, it should be Europe, because they have to deal with the threat of Russia more than the United States does. I mean, Russia is not a threat to the United States, let's be real. But hopefully we can see more European leaders show support for not only Ukraine, but stick it to Trump. Ukraine shouldn't have to give up any land. And I hope these leaders can smack some sense into Trump, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. In other news, we got a really short and sweet one, as there's not much going on with it, but the Texas Democratic lawmakers have returned to the state for the first time in 2 weeks to the Texas House to convene. The GOP leaders will be voting for the redistricting on Wednesday, but outside of that, not much has happened with that. But they're back, so yeah. Call it a lightning round or whatever. I guess nothing really happens. They just came back to the state, so there's not really much to say about that. I do wonder, what happens when this vote goes down. Will they no-show again? Will they walk out? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll have the news when it happens. In other news, Newsmax is paying $67 million in a false claims lawsuit. Newsmax will be paying $67 million to settle one of their lawsuits for airing false claims in the 2020 election, or about the 2020 election. Dominion Voting System, who won the same case against Fox News for $787 million, brought the case to Newsmax against claims that the 2020 election was not, or for claims that the 2020 election was not rigged. Sorry. There was a trial expected for October, but instead Newsmax announced the filing of the case on August 15th and decided to just pay the settlement. They paid $27 million up front, and the rest will be paid by January 2027. This is great news. Actual fake news needs to be sued or removed out of existence. Like, there is a difference between bias and fake news, and both Fox News and Newsmax, fall on that fake news side. It is, unfortunate how many people claim they aren't, but if you go look at it, those are, two of the most frequent liars throughout the media. There's a reason why Fox has to be called Fox Entertainment and not Fox News. But hey, as much as people want to, they're going to continue to claim that they are actual news, and it's just because we don't educate people. Whatever. Not really. We really need to fix that, genuinely. Anyways, moving on into our final topic tonight, Oklahoma is requiring teachers to take the America First or a America First test. Speaking of education, Oklahoma's top education officials are introducing a new assessment for teachers who come from California and New York in order to gauge alignment with the state's conservative values. Oklahoma's education superintendent Ryan Walters announced the move today. The test will be a 50-question exam on questions about the biological differences between males and females, freedom of religion, and U.S. history. Walters claims this is to prevent Democrats from indoctrinating kids. Oklahoma is ranked 50th in education out of all 50 states, in case you didn't know that. Yeah. It is genuinely crazy to me that conservatives are worried about indoctrinating their kids when that is what they do to their children, like their entire upbringing. God forbid a child be themselves. As someone who grew up in that environment, like, I am telling you from firsthand experience that is how it is. I feel bad for any child who has to live through that. Like, genuinely, that is such a shitty way to live through life. Like, at least for me, bro, like, I hated myself for a long time, and like, it's hard to get out of that. It really is. I feel bad for any child who has to go through that, conservative household, because it is indoctrination, whether they want to say it or not. Like, they are indoctrinating children, and they are just shifting blame onto other people. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. It has been an interesting one, to say the least. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you're on Substack, please consider pledging your support. All funds go to me. They'll help me pay for the things that I'll need to pay for in college, like food, clothing, all those kinds of things. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. It means the world to me. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode.